Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is my iPad Pro. This is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and I thought I'd share my thoughts 6 months later. It's actually a little over 6 months, and this was actually released on November 11th, 2015. They range from $800 and still do to $1,229, depending on the options, and that doesn't include the smart keyboard that I have attached here, we'll talk about in a moment, doesn't include the pencil, and it doesn't include any adapters that go along with it. So it can get pretty expensive. So I wanted to give you my thoughts. Now, originally I really did not like this device, and now I've come to like it. But let's first talk about the design and the durability. Obviously it looks just like any other iPad. You can see that the grid of icons is the same, unfortunately. We've got a Touch ID sensor, and it's a giant iPad. The only extra special thing we have here are these 3 quick connector ports that are right here. We also have a camera like you'd expect, not very great, and that's about it. Now I've been using this with the smart keyboard for some time and nothing on the back. I like to keep it thin, I like the feeling of the metal, but that comes with some downsides. You've got basically a wear line from just setting it down from the bottom left corner all the way up to the camera. And you also have another wear line on the bottom a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's worn a little bit around the corners where it actually lays flat. This seems to be the case with any space gray iPad I've owned. They all do the same thing that way. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like the iPad, but that space gray coloring does wear off pretty quickly. It's happened on my iPhone, it's happened on this, it's happened on my iPad Air 2 that I was using before this one. So unless you protect the back with something, it's going to wear off. Now, the speed of the iPad is really great. It's really fast. It doesn't lag ever. It's super, super fast. And that's thanks in part to its really fast processor. It's got a 2.5 gigahertz, actually more like 2.24 gigahertz, and 4 gigabytes of RAM. It's a dual core, and it's plenty fast for this device. This one actually has 128 gigabytes of storage also. I would have liked to see Apple make this expandable like the Surface products from Microsoft, and for its price you can buy a MacBook with plenty more storage, so that's kind of a letdown as far as that goes. But I find myself regularly watching videos on Amazon and Netflix and picture-in-picture, also split screen. So if I open up YouTube here, you can see some of my other ones. I've got some news that I've got in my feed here from different sources I follow, or we can bring in something else. Tweetbot, for example, I can bring in Twitter and check out what's going on with that. And if you haven't subscribed to me on Twitter, or followed me on Twitter rather, go ahead and do that too if you want to find all of these updates there and what I'm doing throughout the day. As far as the speed of it, it's pretty quick. I can just play a video here. It'll play, and I can expand it full screen, leave it playing. I can bring it back this way. It'll keep playing, and it's really very, very fast. I've had no issues whatsoever. There are some issues with the software in that I can't switch or have dual windows. I can't have Safari here, Safari here. That sort of annoys me, and hopefully we see that updated with iOS 10, well, on Monday. So that should be really nice as well. So if I shrink that down, it goes away, but some of these do picture-in-picture. So if you're using videos in here, you can do picture-in-picture. These are some videos I've purchased or that came with a DVD or whatever, or Blu-ray rather, and everything seems to work really well. So speed is not an issue. It hasn't slowed down. I don't think it's going to slow down with the next update either. The next thing really is battery life. And battery life I've been really happy with. It's a solid 10 hours for what I'm doing, and I find myself using this day to day and probably charging it once a week, honestly. And the charging is probably the worst thing about it. It takes a long time to charge. You plug it in, just a simple lightning cable, and unless you have the adapter that goes to the new MacBook plug, this takes a good long time to charge, probably 5 hours or so, something like that. It's really a long time if it's fully drained. But if you leave it overnight, it's not a problem. It only becomes a problem when it's depleted and you have no way of charging it at that time. Now, the accessories for the iPad Pro, in particular the pencil, really make it worthwhile if you're an artist. This is incredibly accurate, incredibly fast, but also pretty expensive at $100. But it does a great job. You can charge it through the lightning port here. You have a tip that you can change out, although these are kind of hard, and some people have said they scratched their iPad. I actually haven't had that happen. I haven't been able to find a scratch on here from this. But it works really nice, and if you're drawing or something like that, it really is a nice little accessory. But if you don't do any of that, I would pass on the pencil. Now, aside from the pencil, you need other adapters, such as the Lightning to USB 3, if you want to do things like import footage from a camera. Now, you can import video footage, depending on its format, into iMovie using the import app. The problem with it is, I have Sony cameras, and they seem to crash the app. So if I plug this in, I import a file, depending on its size. If it's too large, it will crash the app. And then I have to try again, and it keeps crashing. And I've read other people with Sonys having the same exact problem. So that's a big concern. If you ever want to edit on the go and you don't have a MacBook or something else that you're using other than an iPad, it's going to be a bit difficult. The nice thing is this not only does USB 3, but it also has a lightning cable so that you can, or a lightning port rather, so you can plug your lightning cable into it and charge it up while it's doing it. Now, I found that with my Sony cameras, I actually have to have this plugged into the wall adapter that came with the iPad and plugged into USB, or it won't give it enough power in order to import those files. So that may be an inconvenience for some as well. You can also get other adapters, though, for SD card readers. I've found in general, I've had some issues with importing files with this. Unfortunately, I wish Apple would make it just universal like Final Cut Pro or iMovie is on the Mac. It's not quite there yet. Maybe we'll see that with WWDC on Monday as well. The last big adapter that I think, or accessory rather, is this keyboard. This keyboard I've really grown to like. Now, the keys don't have the best throw per se, but I've gotten used to it, and it's actually more throw than you get on the MacBook. And some people either like the MacBook, and I mean the MacBook that's super thin, and the keyboard has a very thin or very little throw. I really like that keyboard. I've gotten used to it, and I like it a lot, but some people just can't stand it. This actually has a little bit more throw than the other one does. So you've got a little more space, but the keys are a little smaller. So you can type on this pretty quickly, and it feels pretty natural to go from here to here. So if you're typing, you hit Command Space, you've got all these different keyboard shortcuts with this keyboard, such as copy and paste, Command C, Command V. I love that about it, and it's something that I've really grown to use a lot now that I have an iPad Pro. I'm not sure that if you don't need a keyboard, though, that it's worth spending about $180 or so on this keyboard after all is said and done. So it's really expensive for what it is. It's held up well, though, and really has no issues as far as its durability. It works really well. Finally, I think the iPad Pro is either for an artist, someone that wants to edit, and that's one thing I forgot to mention. If you're editing in iMovie on here is incredibly fast. It can actually edit 3 4K streams, although importing those 4K streams, if it's recorded on anything other than an iPhone, may be a bit of a difficulty. Now, for me, once those are imported and you edit them, it is really fast how fast it actually compresses and renders everything. My Mac Pro that you may have seen in some of the other shots here is a 6-core with dual GPUs and 64 gigs of RAM. This is faster with the same video. For some reason, this is much quicker to render and compress the same 4K video than my Mac Pro that is far more powerful, at least in spec sheets and what comes with it. So it's pretty interesting that this is that much better as far as that goes. So that's pretty much all I have to say as far as that goes. The iPad Pro is great. I'm not sure I would upgrade to it from an iPad Air 2 if you're really happy with that and you don't need specific features like the pencil or the keyboard. The pencil won't work, unfortunately, with an iPad Air 2, but you could get the other 9.7-inch iPad Pro. That's because there's a special touch layer here specifically for this pencil. So that's really all there is to it. It's a great big iPad, and until they change the interface, maybe change it up a little bit, make it more, I guess, more pro, or maybe you could do a little bit more with the desktop here. Or home screen, it's a great iPad, and it does a few extra things that the regular one doesn't. But other than that, I really like it, and I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. What's your experience been? If you've had one for 6 months or more, let us know there. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.